February 1983. This is Vision and the Scarlet Witch, issue 4. And I've spoken with several of you, and I'm thankful that you guys pointed me in the direction of this book. Because I'd never known when the reveal of Pietro and Wanda Maximoff's father was, and several of you said issue 4 of this run. So I had to make sure to run out and get it, and man, am I glad to have an original copy in my collection. This cover is absolutely spectacular. And this is one thing. Let's go on a little anecdote for a moment. I know a lot of modern comics still kind of do it, but then you have to worry about 6,000 other variants. We're not going to get into that. I miss when the cover artist was also the interior artist, and it pointed out something that was happening in the book. Like, this basically sums up the entire issue in a nutshell. So with that said, spoilers are going to abound. So if you have not read this and you're looking forward to it, pause this video, go get the issues, read it, and come back. And you're back. So, before we even dive into Revelations, let's talk about, please allow me to introduce myself. Bill Mantelo was the scripter. Rick Leonardi was the penciler. Who is that? Ian Akin and Brian Gabberly doing the inks. Janice Chiang doing the lettering. George Russos doing the colors. Mark Grunwald was the editor, and Jim Shooter, editor-in-chief. So, a lot of big names on this book, and I just love this establishing shot of Wundagore Mountain. The color palette that they chose, absolutely amazing. Love how we see this hooded figure trudging through the snow. And I really do feel like a lot of modern writers should go back and read these books. So check out the way the third-person narration just brings you into the picture. The mountain is called Wundagore. The being climbed it shall we know only as the White Pilgrim. For now. And then we hear knock, knock, knock. It's a night given over to the elements. In the hours, the swirling snow has obscured the steep slopes of Wundagore Mountain, reducing visibility to practically zero, making normally treacherous passage well nigh impossible. The elements do not seem to trouble the pilgrim. And then we finally get some dialogue. Shadows flicker across the frozen wind plains as the inhabitants of the cottage move to answer the pilgrim's urgent knocking. Who? I come as a humble supplicant seeking shelter from the storm. Spawn of the atom, what manner of creature are you? I am Bona, midwife of Wundagore, a new woman evolved from a cow by the Lord High Evolutionary. The pilgrim slumps wearily into a seat. At his feet, a drooling man-child mews. I miss when comics like this. Now remember, comics at this point in history were still kind of aimed at not kids, but about 8, 9 and up. It's like you're reading a novel or a melodrama novel. You're sucked in immediately. You feel that something is off, but you can't help but take your eyes away from it. And it establishes the characters. We see the type of person Bova is. She immediately brings the man in and tries to nurse him back to health. What is it that could bring a man forth on a night such as this? I seek something I lost a long, long time ago. I seek my past. The pilgrim accepts the tea the cowwoman offers. It was on a night such as this, many years past, that another came seeking shelter from the storm. Young she was and beautiful, terrified of something she at first refused to speak about, something which threatened the children she was carrying. The woman's name? Her name? Why, her name was Magda. The pilgrim's eyes blaze beneath his cowl. And look at the inking. Again, 1983, no digital artwork yet. Look at the line work and the coloring, the penciling. Oh my God. absolutely astonishing work there. I love this panel. Now, I don't want to go too much into it, but here's where the spoilers abound. The White Pilgrim says the children lived. Who are they? Tell me their names, Catwoman. Tell me. Please. Keep my children from their father. You're Magda's husband. And the children's father, yes. Tell me their names, or I'll flay your flesh and nail it steaming to what's left of this pathetic hovel. Bova cowers. The man-child mews louder. And needless to say, Magneto comes unhinged real quick. Warn the children. She tells this, because this character, I don't want to give too much away, but apparently he was brought to a childlike state using too much power, but he was at one time a sorcerer, and so she begs him to send this warning that she heeds. She goes, warn the children. Mordred cries like a child, confused, but does as his surrogate mother bids him, without knowing how or why he does it. The spell arcs heavenward, which is a great way to segue into the blue side of the moon, where Vision and Wanda are now visiting the home of the uncanny Inhumans. Because at this point, from what I understand, Pietro and Crystal are married and have a child. Has that been retconned? Because I don't see much about it. Because I know in the newer comics, Johnny joined the Inhumans and started dating Crystal. So I have no idea. And this is why I hate that how modern comics, how people kind of don't stick, let people age out, etc., so forth. Because everything that was done 20-something years ago just feels like it doesn't matter anymore. And that's what breaks my heart. But they're not here on a super happy note. They're happy to see one another. Of course, Vision and Wanda want to see their godson, or their nephew, I guess you want to call it. Anyway, Vision is injured, and they've come seeking the aid of the Inhumans. Get past the ads. But when all is said and done, they finally get to see Pietro and Crystal's child. The baby, she's so beautiful. Like the world where she was born, from which she took her name. And I love how right here, Vision says, Crystal, may these android arms of mine cradle your little Luna. There's a moment of silent, sudden tension. Though a mutant himself, Pietro had once borne an all-abiding hatred for his sister's android love. So she seeks his approval. Because remember, as we've been going through the early X-Men comics, Pietro watches his sister like a hawk, even though he tolerated her debt that she wanted to pay to Magneto, but they finally said no more and eventually left and joined the Avengers. But right here, this is what I miss about Pietro, is even though he's like North Star and other characters where they seem really hard and intense, but the hatred eased as Pietro was made to see the roots of his prejudice. Hold my daughter and love her well, brother-in-law. For such moments, there are no words. Ha! Great freaking writing. Now, I don't want to give away too much, so I don't want to go all the way into how Magneto infiltrates this little happy moment. Magneto, our enemy. Not here, not now. And so there goes to be this all-out, intense battle. And he gives the business to Vision. So I love how even though it starts out with this intensity, then there's a moment of semi-calm before the storm, and then the storm happens. And the artwork, my God, look at these action lines. Very How to Draw the Marvel Way, very Kirby-esque. You see the blazing hatred in Wanda's eyes as she wants to throw her hex magic at Magneto, but he finally stops. The babe, yes, the fighting, born out of past animosities, shall cease. Such enmities are ancient history. This child represents the new order of things. Harm her not, Magneto. Harm her. Harm this swaddled innocent, this harbinger of hope. The master of magnetism would sooner embrace the eternal unknown than allow a moment's grief to cross the life of his granddaughter. What? And that's where Magneto first reveals that he is their father. And he talks about the hatred of what happened during the Holocaust, where both man and mutant were persecuted for being different. But unlike the other victims, I possessed the power to fight back. That power frightened your mother, my children, and drove her from me. I grieved, but I survived. There are good and bad mutants. There are good and bad humans. I blame the former for the latter's cruelty. I had already begun to temper my hatred for Homo sapiens. When I learned that my mutant son had sired a normal human child, and that now I was tied by blood to the human race, still I do not ask acceptance of mankind at large. I only ask it, Wanda and Petra, of you. And we see how there's a moment of resolution. Absolutely stunning issue, guys. I can't recommend this enough. Now, with all that said, there is a comic that we'll be going over here in the near future. Let me see if I can grab the cover real quick. That, in a sense, shatters everything that was done in this issue. I have not read it yet. I just kind of read the footnotes. And needless to say, I'm a little agitated that everything beautiful that accumulated in this issue is undone in a finger snap in this issue. But for now, that's for another day. Right now, I want to focus on how great of a story this was. If you're a big book reader and comic fan, you're going to love every moment about this issue. That's just my opinion. What do y'all think? If you've enjoyed what you've seen, please first and foremost support your local comic shop or wherever it is like to get your action figures and comics and grab this issue. If you've enjoyed this review, really would appreciate if you take a moment to hit like, share, and subscribe. Helps the channel more than you could possibly know. And if you don't mind hitting that fancy little magnetism bell next subscribe, that way as I continue to upload content, you guys get notified. Come to the channel, and I love talking with y'all and hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments or the socials, which I'll make sure that the links down in the description. So with all that said, I hope y'all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, everyone.